the beginning of this semester, when I thought of ecology, I came up with a very short and dictionary-like answer, like nature and its inhabitants. I thought of the typical ecosystems, well, like the ocean, with all the seaweed, coral, fish, and underwater life. Or places like Africa, with its exotic animals like hippos, zebras, giraffes, and lions. Although my idea of ecology was not necessarily wrong, it was very limited and it was heavily influenced by, well, let's just say some not so reliable sources for biology. So, for our first homework assignment by Dr. Leander, she asked us to ask her a question. I couldn't think of anything, so I procrastinated and went on Facebook. When I started browsing through my old Facebook albums, I thought of the time when I joined my dad on his trekking course through the Rockies. I remember being surprised by how the forest was red rather than green, and you can guess already that it was the infamous pine beetles. In class, Dr. Leander had taught us on ecosystems and began touching on population sizes. During 1 week, she incorporated my question into a case study of the North American pine beetle. Honestly, at first I was surprised and slightly regretful she chose my question because case study? That sounded horrible! Nevertheless, Dr. Leander went with the lectures and showed us these government maps of BC showing the magnitude of forests damaged by pine beetles over the years. I was surprised by how small the pine beetle population had started from and to where it was now. Normally, at low population levels, the pine beetles lived in weak, sick trees. This left the healthier trees to strive in the forest while the fewer, weaker ones were taken over by the beetles. However, with a consistent series of warm winters, there was a decline in their brood mortality. With more offspring surviving every year, the populations were large enough to take over the healthy trees. These healthy trees are more insulated and granted the beetles a better chance to survive in the wintertime. It was frightening because there was such a large area affected by these beetles, and it's still progressing. What alarmed me more was that Dr. Leander told us how the beetles were making their way over the Rockies to Alberta and the rest of the prairies, and they were even spotted in some boreal forests. This was frightening information, but interesting at the same time. I started to think for myself whether the beetles could be stopped by the colder prairie winters or what measures that we could take to stop their progression. Through Bio 121, I started thinking of ecology as more than just classifying animals to their natural and permanent habitats. Instead, ecology involves constant changes to the environments which eventually leads to adaptations by the species involved. In the case of the pine beetles, I could see a strong connection between abiotic factors like temperature with the biotic factors like the trees and beetles, which affected the population size. So through this course, I learned that ecology, it's an inseparable mix of these biotic and abiotic factors working together. In conclusion, the ecology I thought of before Bio 121, it felt like it had to be exotic and far, far away, when really a major study of ecology is right in our backyard, and to start learning about them, a good place to start is by asking questions.